Welcome to kathysright.com. Subscribe today. Oh my. Well, every day now, without end, every single day without fail, somebody brings up the name of Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King was a great man who did awesome things and made changes, positive changes in this country. But people bring up his name as though he had something to do with protest of all kinds, because he would not be a part of Black Lives Matter. The organization started by non-Christian people doing very non-Christian things. And now these non-Christian people are out in the streets, looting, criming, doing all sorts of destroying. And I don't think that his name even belongs in the same sentence, let alone subject matter, when they are referring to the riffraff hoodlums out in the streets calling themselves Black Lives Matter and Antifa and the like. I'm just being honest. It is not fair to invoke his name when we're talking about what we're seeing right now across this country in our blue cities. And by blue, I do not mean blue like in police officers. I mean blue like in Democrat. Because Dr. Martin Luther King was a Republican. Google it. Not only was Dr. Martin Luther King a Republican, he was a registered Republican. I've actually seen a card signed by him. So with the revisionist history that we're finding on Google now, you'd have to go to maybe page 30 to find it, because they don't want you to know. They have watered down and revised history to the point that it is unrecognizable. Things that were taught knowingly in the encyclopedia even, you can't find it on Google anymore because they don't want you to know stuff like that. They don't want you to know that the first Black senators and congressmen were all Republican. They don't want you to know that. They want you to believe a lie, a myth, that somehow the parties switched sides. That never happened. That never, ever happened. So it is no wonder that our young people have such a skewed, twisted vision about who's on their side. Seriously, there are too many people who are vying for them. We are trying, but you don't listen because you've listened to your leftist teachers and your leftist curriculum that's been forced down their throats. They have no other way of figuring the things out. They're believing what these leftists are teaching them. They think that is the gospel rather than the gospel of Jesus in the Bible. Their gospel is at school. They took prayer out of the school so they could insert this Marxism into the school. And quelle surprise, here we have the pandemic and the riots. While I will never be a full-on student of victimology, we have all become victims of misinformation, or shall I say lies. Misinformation in the form of curriculums taught in our schools since the 60s. Revised history. They can't revise math, so they revise history. They revise everything. They've even started to revise the English language. What was not acceptable before has become full-on acceptable now. They call it Ebonics. We are not even required to speak correctly anymore, or expected to speak correctly. So what we have is rap music, which I think, if it weren't for freedom of speech, I would think rap music would be illegal because it's pretty much pornographic. So I watched an episode of the Ben Shapiro show. I love the Ben Shapiro show. And he was reading the lyrics to the Cardi B's song. Cardi B is a rapper, female. All I know about her really is that she's having a beef right now with Candace Owen, And so he read the lyrics on the podcast. And my gosh, I couldn't believe that people have this. So I pulled it up on my computer, and I'll just give you a smidgen of it because it's just too horrible to read the whole thing. Beat it up. This is just a part of it. Beat it up, nigga, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this pussy right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. That's as much as I'm willing to read. But that is disgusting. And that's Cardi B. And that's the person Joe Biden decides to get in. We all know that Joe Biden doesn't mind getting a little inappropriate, shall we say? We all know that about Joe. But this was beyond. This was beyond special. This was weak. Joe is afraid to be interviewed by a real reporter or a real journalist, which I use that term loosely nowadays. But he's afraid, so he went with the lowest common denominator, which was Cardi B. Yeah, that was a good move, Joe, because I guarantee you Cardi B listeners aren't voting. They're not voting. And they're not going to vote for you, Joe. They might like you. You know, they might even put you on an album cover or something. Oh, wait a second. They don't make album covers anymore. I'm dating myself. But yeah, these are not voters, the people that listen to Cardi B. No, these people who listen to Cardi B can barely get off their sofa. Because basically, her audience is the lowest common denominator. But Trump, in his brilliance, he gave you a good name, Hayden Biden. I liked that one. You know, when he was talking the other day, I was listening to him describe Joe Biden, and Trump said, Joe is shot. And I think that's a kind way of putting it. Yeah, he's shot. His days are numbered. He has to read from a teleprompter. He can't just even follow the teleprompter. He actually told his assistant or whoever was behind the teleprompter to move it closer to him while he was actually speaking to us, the audience. That's pathetic. So, Joe, I'm thinking the debates aren't going to happen. I'm just thinking that because I think it will be an embarrassment for Joe Biden to actually debate Trump. Or even to debate himself. I think it would be an embarrassment. And if he does attempt to do so, it will be a sad day for us all. I think we'll all feel sorry for him, actually. There are rumblings about excuses that Biden may use to get out of the debate. Like, for instance, one running one is that he may come down mysteriously with the coronavirus. And that would keep him from being able to actually do the debate. Then there's the contingency theory. The contingency theory is that Joe's people will say that Joe will argue and debate with Trump only if Trump shows his tax reports. And then Joe will debate him. And of course, Trump is not going to do that, which I wouldn't either. I'm not showing anybody my tax reports at all. But that's what they're going to pull. And I think that what other contingencies can you think of for Joe? And no one's really enthusiastic about Joe Biden, not even Kamala Harris. She doesn't even seem excited about the prospect of being the vice president of the United States. You think she's in it to win it? I don't think so. Have you seen the crowds? I loved that our president had a peaceful protest at an airport. I just love that. I'm like, how creative. Because really, the only people who are not contagious with the coronavirus, the COVID-19, or whatever the hell they're calling it this week, they really had a peaceful protest. Because the peaceful protesters get away with all sorts of mayhem. We should get together with our neighbors and friends and have a big old party. And you know what? If the cops come, we'll just say, we're having a peaceful protest. That's all it is. Freedom of assembly, freedom of, what's the other one that we're peaceful protesting. I love it. That's we should go with this. Let's stick to the peaceful protest. Why don't we? Another subject I'd like to briefly bring up is this notion of systemic racism. Okay, systemic, meaning from the system, right? Or in the system. Okay, I go to the DMV. Oh yeah, black people know how to go to the DMV, Democrats. But when I go to the DMV, I'm telling you, 9 out of the 10 people working there were black people. I get pulled over by a cop. 9 out of 10 times it's been a black cop or a Mexican cop. Rarely have I gotten a white cop. Okay. And then I look on TV yesterday and they had pictures of all these police chiefs who have resigned in these blue cities because they want to defund the police. And all of them were black police chiefs. So if there is systemic racism and the people leading that charge are supposedly black people, then we are the system that we're actually saying is systemically racist. So you're calling yourself racist, really, because we are the system. We are the system. We're in the bureaucracy. We are in the government. We had a president for 8 years, reelected, black man. So if this country is so systemically racist, how does that happen? How does that happen? It wouldn't happen if this country was as bad as the Democrats want it to sound every 4 years. It would never have happened. We haven't had a Jewish president. We haven't had an Asian president. We haven't had a Latin American president. We haven't even had not even a female president, which is fine with me. I'm not into identity politics, although that's pretty much what I've just talked about, right? But we haven't had it. I think for the most part, I think for women in the suburbs, which they're talking quite often about right now, they're saying how Joe has the women in the suburbs, which he doesn't, because I live in the suburbs. I've always lived in the suburbs. And no, he doesn't have the women in the suburb vote. There is no such thing, really, because all your neighbors are going to think a little bit differently. But I find it to be, when we're doing identity politics and they like to group everybody, like the black vote and the Hispanic vote, and they want to group everybody together like we're just like a mono thought, that's their danger zone. That's why they lost. Because we were all deplorables, at least us crazy conservatives. We're in the basket of deplorables, and it became a badge of honor for me. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I'm deplorable. I'm dang deplorable. It's like if you're going to put me down for something, like when people call me Coon, I've been called everything. It doesn't bother me at all. It rolls off my back because really I've been called that. Every time I talk to somebody and I disagree with them and they have a lack of argument, they're really not, let's just say they're challenged intellectually. And then they resort to the name calling, because by the time you get to the name calling, your argument is lost. And you run out of stuff to say. So you're going to throw a name out there. Coon. Is that all you got? Give me something. Give me something legit. Call me a name. That's Ms. Coon to you. How about that? I myself am known to use a few words when referring to certain people. And I usually call names to the TV, which is completely intellectually dishonest, because, I completely go there. And I will be looking at Sunny Hostin, let's say. I can't stand her. And I have a lot of choice names for her. But they'll never hear it. They'll never hear it, because I wouldn't say that to a human being to their face. But at home, while I'm washing my dishes and I'm looking at the TV, oh my gosh, I would sound like a sailor. I do. Oh my gosh, I don't even feel guilty about it. And then my husband, he comes in and he joins in with me. He's got some choice names too. And we're just yelling at the TV. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. But, that's just a pastime, something that we do. It's fun. Dirty politics. Yeah, that's what we're seeing now. Dirty politics. Politics have always been dirty. They've always been dirty, far back as you can think. We just didn't see it up close and personal like we get to nowadays, because we have the TV on and we have the internet going. And it used to be you would watch a little bit of TV and you'd read your newspaper and you had your fill of media for the day. But now everything is 24 hours, 7 days a week. News cycles. And you know what? Donald Trump knows how to use the news cycle. If I were him, I would plant some of my own dirt about me. You know what I mean? Like, instead of letting them come up with something new and creative every week to come at him with, he does a great job defending himself. Don't get me wrong. But I would take the bull by the balls, and I would make up the worst thing about myself, something that I know I can defend and make myself come out smelling like a rose on the other end, and I would have complete control. That's what I would do if I were Donald Trump. But as it is now, they're all coming from the left, and I'm thinking they're probably in a room somewhere, thinking up all the different things they can bring out on a weekly basis leading right up into the election. And so we've seen it come. It's kind of got its own rhythm now. It's gotten its own rhythm. Okay, that thing's kind of burned out. Here comes another thing. That thing kind of burned out. Here comes another thing. Sort of like the impeachment. Bam, corona, bam. It's going to be something. And it's a rhythmic thing. And they're gotten really cool at it. They all have the same talking points. They know exactly what to say. They give Biden softball questions like, what's your favorite color? Stuff like that. As opposed to Donald Trump, they give him tougher questions. They give McEnany tougher questions. But to Biden, it's more like, what kind of cereal did you like when you were a little boy kind of questions. So every week, the Democrats have a new bang for their buck. And this week was no different. This week was about the interview that Donald Trump gave to Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward was, I guess, the one who was around during the Watergate thing. Anyways, so they're making an issue that Donald Trump said that he was going to play down the pandemic so as not to cause panic. Now, who has a problem with that? That is his job. He doesn't want to send his country into panic over something we really couldn't do very much about anyway. So he played it down. Good for him. That's what you do as a president. George Bush did the same thing. He did the exact same thing. When he found out about 9/11, he was in a room reading to small children. Was he supposed to stand up and run out like a maniac? No, he stayed calm and cool. And he kept it to himself until he figured out what he was going to say. That's what leaders do. As opposed to that, what would you have Trump do? What did you want him to get to? When I say you, I mean the Democrats. I'm sorry. But you, if you were a Democrat, what would they have him do? Would they go to the mic and go, we're all going to die. There's this crazy viral disease going around. It's killing everybody. And is that what they wanted? Because that would be the opposite of what he did. That would have been crazy. Those people, he can't win for losing with the Democrats. No matter what he does, they'll find something wrong with it. And they'll find everything right with crazy Biden. Quid pro quo. Biden, that one. And where's Hunter? Anybody know? Anyone? Well, anyways, this is Kathy of kathysright.com. Please make sure you subscribe today. On video this week, I have a special guest. Her name is Terry Dillon. She is an educator, public speaker extraordinaire. She has a ministry called the Holy Spirit Novena. And I've been doing that novena, and I tell you, I've seen life changes. So I invite you to join my show. It's on video. You'll see it on YouTube. I'll try to get the sound one on audio, but I'm not sure how that works just yet. But Terry will be on, and I'm looking forward to you getting to know someone very special. God bless you, keep you, and keep praying. We need to. This is Kathy of kathysright.com. Bye.